Hey guys, welcome to RAMZPAUL Live. Looking at my mic, make sure it's set up okay. It is Thursday. Is it Thursday already? What the hell? Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. I no longer work a corporate like real job, so I always get mixed up on my days. Today is Thursday, March 12th. And what the hell? It's already March 12th. Wasn't it just Christmas? When you get older, time just accelerates. It's really true. I know it sounds like it's a cliche, but wow, we're already in March. The leaves are budding here in Arkansas. This is a beautiful time where we have these purple type of trees, leaves, and white. I think they're called dogwood, but just really pretty. And the weather should be warming up here. This is our rainy season, though. We get a lot of rain, but that's spring. Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I've been doing these streams ever since the Iran war, just so we get together and talk about what's going on. Although I guess it's technically not a war; it's a excursion. It's like Gilligan's Island. They took a 3-hour excursion or something. At least that's what Trump is saying. But it's not a war. It's something else. And even if it was a war, we won. We won in the first hour. USA, yeah, fuck yeah. But things are still going on, whether Trump likes it or not. So we'll try to figure this out. This is the first war I've seen in the United States where the leader of the country is acting like a clown. He's like a marketer. He's like P.T. Barnum. He was there dancing to the village people, why American troops are dying. It's just a bad look. I wish we had someone more serious in this situation because this is a serious matter. I don't want to do all doom and gloom. I still think there's a possibility, maybe we get out of this. Depends on the Iranians, probably the Russians working with the Iranians. But the people that started this war, they fucked up. They really fucked up. Jared Kushner, Pete Hegseth, Rubio, Witkoff, and Trump. He's got to take responsibility. It didn't go as they planned. They didn't listen to people that said it's not going to be that easy. It's not going to be like Venezuela. But Trump didn't want to hear that. He wanted a bombing campaign on Saturday. And by Monday, he wanted a glorious victory. We'd have some gay Jew in charge of Iran. They'd have OnlyFans, and they'd be giving money to Israel. That was the idea, but it didn't work. It didn't work. And now things are pretty bad. And the Iranians, they actually have a strategy. They've had the strategy for a long time, and they're implementing it. And they're doing well. And objectively, they are winning the war. Because for them to win the war, they just have to survive. For us to win the war is regime change. Anything less than regime change is a huge defeat. It's a defeat because then Iran and the current regime can rebuild. They'll definitely develop a nuclear weapon now because the guy that stopped them from developing a nuclear weapon, the old Ayatollah Khomeini, he was like 86 years old, says, no, we're not going to develop a nuclear weapon like Pakistan has or North Korea. It's against the Islamic religion as I see it. So he issued a fatwa. I think that's what they call it. It's like a decree. And he goes, no nuclear weapons. And well, we killed that guy. And his son now has taken over. And his son may have different ideas because I would imagine they were thinking, well, if we want to make sure we don't get attacked again, we need to get nuclear weapons. Because then if Israel tries to fuck with us, we can drop a nuke on Tel Aviv. So that, I think, is the equation. Because you notice North Korea is not being attacked, right? Or Pakistan. So I think it's going to be a disaster. And most of the world will see this as Iranian victory. And I don't really see much likelihood of a U.S. victory in this war now. It's pretty clear. The government shows, at least the Iranian government, the U.S. government's a little less stable, but the Iranian government seems to be quite in control. There's been no uprisings. In fact, the people have rallied behind their leadership in Iran, which is, you would expect, right? You kill the religious leader, slaughter a bunch of their schoolgirls, I think it was an accident. I'd hope the United States wouldn't do that on purpose. It was outdated targeting information, but we did do it. Trump lied about that. That's coming out now that we did do it. And obviously, they're going to rally around the government. I mean, we would, right? Always just reverse it. What if we were in negotiations with China and then China did a sneak attack and killed our president and a lot of the top leaders and bombed a Baptist school, killed 167 Christian school children? I think this nation would be outraged and would say, let's kill those fuckers. Well, that's the way Iran is now, the population. They did take to the streets, but not to overthrow the government, but to show support of the government. So the idea that the government's going to fall is very unlikely. We can keep dropping bombs, but as Trump said, we're running out of targets. And then eventually it's like, well, what's going to happen? I mean, what's the purpose here? We bomb, it's not going to change the government. There's never been an example in history where bombing has changed the government. Not one. Not one. And we dropped more bombs, for example, on North Vietnam than we dropped on the Axis, Germany and Japan. I mean, we just bombed the shit out of that country. And napalm, Agent Orange, the whole bit. And that didn't make any difference. North Vietnam still won. So you got to send troops on the ground. And how we're going to do that? How we're going to do that? We don't have that big of an army anymore. And I'm starting to think our military is not very good. I mean, that may be heretical to say, but I've been hearing a lot of people in the military how because of DEI and other things, their standards have gone down. They don't really seem top notch anymore. I know you're not supposed to say that, but from people I've talked to, they really don't. Just today on the Gerald Ford, our flagship aircraft carrier, there was a fire, not because of the Iranians, but because of like the laundry room or something. And they're having troubles with the sewage and everything else. It's just not a top-notch Navy or armed forces anymore. We've had Navy ships run aground because of diversity. So I'm not really convinced that we're like this badass military anymore. I think we're reliving glory days, but we don't have that huge of an army. The Iranians have over 1 million man army. And if we wanted to invade Iran, let's just say we wanted to do that. It's like, well, how do we do that? First, we need a lot more soldiers. Where do we get them? A draft? Yeah, good luck with that going through. That's not going to happen. And even if you did do that, then it would take months to assemble this armada and troops. And then where do you land them? Because it's not 2003 with Iraq anymore. Now everyone has satellite information. So it's not a surprise. Wherever we put the troops, the Iranians will know, and they'll be able to bomb them with drones and missiles. And so where do we assemble the troops? And Iraq is hostile. We'll get to that. We've just lost some troops in Iraq right now. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then so this whole thing. So if we can invade, we're probably not going to change the government. So the whole purpose of this episode was a failure. It was a strategic failure. So at this point, it's just how we can minimize a defeat. This war was an American defeat, like Vietnam. Mostly we win our wars, but in this case, we've lost. I don't see a way to win. And Trump can proclaim it a win all he wants, whatever. That's what Trump is. Trump is all about marketing. About narrative control. He doesn't really care about the truth. He just likes to spin something. But it's going to be hard to spin when people see this. So he was trying, at his rally to try to get rid of Massey. He was saying, "Oh, we've already won, glorious victory." Well, they're still fighting Trump. Why are you saying this? And the more Trump says stuff that is not true, eventually there's a crisis in confidence. There's a confidence crisis, and people start not believing anything that comes out of the administration. Already, I'm having a lot of doubts about it. So, and again, I love America, and I don't like Islam or Muslims. I definitely don't want them in Western Europe or our country. But I don't have a problem with them doing their thing in their countries. And we're fighting this war not for America. For example, if Iran had attacked us, let's say did a sneak attack on Chicago, I would say, yeah, fuck those bastards up, fuck them up. I'd be the first one to do that. So I'm not a pacifist, but they didn't. They weren't a threat to us. This is all fucking Israel and Netanyahu, and they want their greater Israel. And we'll get into this on the show. He admitted that because they're trying to bring back their Messiah, because they rejected the true Messiah, Jesus Christ. So they're looking to bring back another Messiah, which, by the way, will be the Antichrist. So this is just really weird. As I posted on X, this is a war between religious fanatics and Iran. Iran, they're not the religious fanatics. It's the United States were these weirdo Christian Zionists and Israel. It's just crazy, but this is what it is. So it's a pretty crazy situation right now. Hey guys, and as always, if you want to interact with the show, I do appreciate that. I don't have a sugar daddy. I don't have sponsors. I'm just me. But it's I got Powerchats. You can send. I have the link there on Rumble. I have Rants. I appreciate those. And on YouTube, there's SuperChats. So if you want to get involved with the conversation, I do appreciate that. All right, let's just start the news. And it's always tough in a war to figure out really what's true, because both sides lie. And now with technology, there's a lot of fake AI videos and stuff. I'm getting better of telling AI videos. If it looks too good to be true, if it looks like a Hollywood movie, it's probably an AI video. Not always, but usually it is. Usually real videos, someone with a cell phone is kind of grainy and shaking. If it looks like, oh, bombs, explosions, it's just really, high definition, is probably fake. So I always use that as a caveat, and I try to get sources that have been confirmed. But sometimes I may make a mistake, but I try to do, so if I retweet something on X and then I find out, oh, this is an AI video, then I'll just undo it. So I don't do that intentionally, but I get fooled sometimes. All right, but I think this is pretty well documented now. The U.S. has lost a KC-135, lost in the Iran war. And I hope these 6 crew members are not dead. That's a possibility. We're searching for them. They crashed in Western Iraq. So this wasn't in Iran. I don't think our planes are flying over Iran right now. We just come to the border and shoot the missiles. But this is, from my understanding, this is a fueling plane. And it was in Iraq. In the Iraq militias, Iraq, remember, we invaded Saddam Hussein, and we have somewhat control. We don't really even control Iraq. There's a lot of militias, and some of the militias are Shia. They are sympathetic towards Iran. So Iranians, they actually have quite a few people that are like proxies or will fight for them. So you have the Iranians, you have the Iranian army and the Republican Guard. That's like their elite units. And then in Iraq, they have militias that fight. And one of their militias, I guess, had, so much, they don't have any, we have total control of the skies. Well, they just shot down a plane in Iraq. And that also Iran has Hezbollah that has been fighting Israel and Lebanon. And the Houthis, I always think of them like Star Wars, the sand people, or maybe the Fremen and Dune. They're kind of like sand people, but they get going too. They're kind of, again, they're Shias, and they're not controlled by Iran, but they're sympathetic. They're kind of like a proxy. And remember, like a year ago, they shut down the Red Sea to tankers because of Gaza. That could come up too in the future. So Iran has a lot of militias, and one of the militias in Iraq has shot down a plane. Hopefully the 6 crew members are not dead, but this is the situation. And I think I got a couple of other confirmation. So this is a fake news. I think this has pretty well been confirmed. Breaking, the KC-135 reportedly shot down by the Iraqi resistance. The U.S. military has confirmed the loss of a refueling aircraft during operations over western Iraq. So this is quite a ways from Iran. Iraq's a pretty big country, but Iran's like twice the size. But it's not eastern Iraq, is like right next to Iran. So this was western Iraq. And what happens when we send planes up, let's say from the aircraft carrier, they sometimes get refueled in midair because our aircraft carriers are frightened to get too close to Iran. They are. And so we have to fly a long ways. We have to fuel in air. And it was reportedly struck by a surface-to-air missile fired by the Iraqi resistant forces, which again some of them are sympathetic to Iran. Initial reports indicate 3 soldiers were killed. I've heard 6, but I don't know. This has not been confirmed, so I'm not going to speculate if anyone died. There has been reports that we have been looking. There's a rescue mission. Whenever a plane goes down, the Air Force has a search and rescue group go out there and try to find them. And hopefully they'll find these people okay. They had time to like parachute out. But I don't know, in this plane, I'm kind of pessimistic if they had time to do that. But this is a bad look after this. Yesterday, Donald Trump was dancing to village people and saying the war was won and Iraq has been totally defeated. And then today, one of our planes gets shot out of the sky. Not exactly a good look. All right, another thing that happened today that is not exactly related to Iran, or some people may say it was a sleeper cell. I don't think it was, but it's important. And it hasn't got as much traction as I thought it would. Laura Loomer ran with this right away and was blaming Tucker. There was a couple of terrorist attacks in the United States today. One was a Mohammed Jallo from Sierra Leone shot 3 people at Old Dominion University, killing 1. No one named Muhammad should be in the United States right off the bat. And then a Lebanese man carried out a vehicle ramming and shooting attack at Temple Israel Synagogue in Bloomfield, Michigan. He died in exchange with the synagogue security team. He didn't kill anyone, though. But Laura Loomer was blaming Tucker and everything because if you criticize the war in Iran or criticize Israel, they say that's anti-Semitic. I remember in Australia, there was a Muslim that killed a bunch of Jews. And Australia, the government response was to blame white people, white Christians, and censor their speech. So I don't doubt that will be the goal in the United States. If there ever should be an attack against Jewish people here, which of course I oppose, but if there should be, they will say, see, we can't have free speech, and Jewish groups will work to try to remove the First Amendment. And I have no doubt about that. So it's just heads up. That's going to be the game plan. It's good that we understand what it's going to be, but that's what it is right now. And again, it wasn't some white person. It was some Muslim that did it. All right. The other problem we're having right now, and I've seen multiple stories on this, is we've kind of shot the wad on a lot of our ammunition. The U.S. this is the Financial Times, and the Financial Times of Britain is very pro-war, pro-Ukraine and all that, against Iran. The U.S. has used up years, not months, but years of critical munitions since the start of the war with Iran. And they're really worried about Tomahawk, THAAD, and Patriot missile supplies. Again, these missiles are very expensive. They take a long time to manufacture. And to manufacture them, we need rare earths that we can only get from China. The rare earth refinement process. We have plenty of rare earths in the United States, but in the wisdom of the neocons like Ben Shapiro, we outsource this. So China could put a stop to this. But no matter what, because we've shot so many Tomahawks now, last year in the first war with Iran, now in this war, and our Patriot missile supply was depleted before this war because of Ukraine. And so there's a lack of missiles at this point. And this is primarily how we fight. Whereas Iran, they have like thousands, tens of thousands of missiles. So there's a real problem here because we can't replace these missiles very quickly. Now, Iran's goal in this war is pretty upfront. Their strategy. It's to, and also let me just make sure. I just forgot about that. I want to make sure my, yeah, here, let me pin this here. I wanted to make sure my videos on X, it is. So here we go. Okay. Hey, X, how you guys doing? Iran's strategy is, it took the Trump administration by surprise. I don't know why, because military experts and analysts, even people I followed, understood the first thing that Iran would probably do was to close the Strait of Hormuz, because then they could get an economic chokehold over the oil. But this caught the Trump administration totally by surprise. They didn't think they would do that. And this is the way they're going to cause problems for America and the Western world, because it's like 30% of the oil supply, and they're preventing any passages through the straits, except if you're like Chinese or Russia, or, you know, if you're friendly with the United States, you can't get your ships through. And Trump got mad and said, "Oh, it's not that bad. Don't be a bunch of pushies. Just go through it." And any oil tankers that tried, they were blown up. And then they were asking for U.S. naval help, and the Navy's like, "Fuck no, we're not going through there. It's too dangerous." So we're working on a plan. We're working on a plan, maybe to get our Navy some courage to try to go through that. I don't blame the Navy, though, because right now they're in open sea and they can kind of zigzag around. But you go through the strait, it's only like 20 kilometers across at the narrow point, and you could be a shooting duck to drones and missiles. So our Navy doesn't want to go through the strait. And right now, this is creating a problem with the oil market. Oil today, again, reached over $100. Before I started the show, is around 94, 95. And that will probably go up unless the strait is open. And the new leader of, oh, that's not it. Had the wrong thing up. Let me show you this story. Yeah, the new Iran supreme leader, also named Khamenei. His dad was the original leader. He was 86. And this guy, his dad was killed by the Americans. His wife was, and his son and daughter. And he was injured, I guess. He had a leg injury. But he's saying now that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed. And the U.S. oil prices are back above $95 a barrel. This is going to create a lot of inflation and a lot of pain in the economy if we don't get this strait open. So the Iranians have a pretty good strategy from their point of view. So we'll just keep that closed and put pain on the Americans until they agree to our demands. And that's kind of an interesting point. What are the Iranian demands? They said, well, we want the U.S. out of the Gulf, get the bases out of the Gulf and quit supporting Israel. But I don't see it reasonably we could do that politically, because we defend the Gulf states. So we have the petrodollar, and our politicians are bought and controlled by Israel. So that's not going to happen. So hopefully something can be worked out. Maybe with the Russians, they'll talk to Iran and say, "Hey, would you guys agree to maybe something different? Maybe, if they promise not to attack you." And maybe the Iranians will agree to that. I don't know. They are pretty upset right now. And there's been multiple reports that the United States government has attempted to negotiate with the Iranians, but the Iranians have refused as of now. Because why should they negotiate? They are winning at this point in a strategic sense. And that's the point of the war. It's just not how many people you kill. It's who obtains the strategic goal. And our goal again was to change the government of Iran so it'd be more friendly to Israel, so Israel can, create their vision of a greater Israel and expand their territory. And they were worried about Iran blocking them. So that was our goal. But the Iranian goal, I don't think they want to be attacked in the future. So they're trying to figure out, well, if we stop now, if we have like a ceasefire, like we did in 2025, the Iranians agreed to a ceasefire in 2025 because Israel's being bombed. And then less than a year later, we attacked them again in another sneak attack while we were negotiating. So they're like, well, how do we prevent that from happening again in the future? See, that's the big problem right now that they're having to look at. All right, the Strait of Hormuz, again, is not totally closed. They're allowing some ships to go through. And reportedly, Pakistan, China, Russia, North Korea, Bangladesh, Yemen, Lebanon, and Iraq, they are allowed to use the Strait of Hormuz. So some ships are getting through. So it's not all ships. But any countries that support the United States or Israel, they are not getting through. And the problem is it could even expand because this was in 2025, this video. Let me just show you this. This was the Houthis. This is the Red Sea. This is the other way through. And this was an attack by the Houthis. And again, this was mislabeled. This didn't happen recently. This was last year. But the Houthis still exist. And so the Persian Gulf could be shut down. And if the Houthis get involved, they could try to shut down the Red Sea too. And then would really be fucked. So that is what's going there now. Trump has responded about this oil crisis and the price going up. Let's see his response here. The United States is the largest oil producer in the world by far. So when the oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. So Trump is trying to do a spin here. If oil prices go up, which will make everything more expensive at the pump, which will increase inflation because everything's got to be, shipped by trucks, and food would be more expensive because fertilizer is a petroleum product. But he's trying to spin it. Well, actually, we're going to make a lot of money because we can sell the oil, or oil companies will get rich. If that makes you guys happy, that Exxon Mobil will get rich. Okay. But far of the greatest importance to me as president is stopping an evil empire, Iran. I'm not quite sure how they're an empire. They don't control, they're not like the United States that have bases all around the world. We're the empire, not Iran. It's not like Iran has bases in Mexico, Canada, France. I don't know what he's talking about there. From having nuclear weapons. Well, wait a minute, Trump. Last year, you said you obliterated their nuclear weapons. And if anyone disagreed, that was fake news. What are you talking about? And destroying the Middle East and indeed the world. Yeah, I don't think Iraq was trying to destroy the Middle East or the world. They haven't invaded anyone in the Middle East. They haven't been attacking like France or Britain. This is just stupid. I guess you could say Iran has been funding groups like Hezbollah, which fights against Israel and Lebanon, but that has nothing to do with the United States. I won't ever let that happen. So, and then he always signs it. I don't know why now. Thank you for your attention to this matter. But Donald Trump is saying that, well, oil prices, it's not that bad. It's not that bad if they should go up. So that is his reframing it. But behind the scenes, he's not very happy with this whole thing that's happening. And we'll take a look here. Where was this? Here it is. The U.S. President Trump wants to end the war in Iran and has given Israel 1 week to do so. And this is Israel reporting. Well, Israel and the United States, they can decide to, stop attacking in a week. That's up to them. They control that, but they can't control what Iran does. When you get into war, the other side, unless you defeat them, you can't just negotiate a ceasefire just for yourself. You have to get the other party involved. Unless you defeat them, right? If you totally defeat them, you can set the terms. But if you don't always can just walk away, because Iran can say, well, we don't give a fuck. You can decide you're quit, but we're still going to attack Israel, and we're going to still close the Strait of Hormuz. Then what Trump's going to do, right? What's he going to do? That's the big problem. That is the big problem. That is the big fear. And that is, I think we're going to have to see what happens there. All right. So supposedly Trump told Israel he wants them done in a week. Now, see, the trouble is Israel, Netanyahu, they don't want that. They want regime change because they have the greater Israel plan. And if Iran stays in power, the regime in Iran, they're in trouble, because they probably know this was their last chance, because it's been such a fucking disaster. There's no way Trump is going back into Iran in the future. There's just no way. And any future president is like, no, fuck that. We're not going to go back there. Again, as I said yesterday, it was like right after the Vietnam War, Americans didn't want to get involved with foreign wars at all. It took us years, decades before we started to again. And that will be the case here. So if we don't change the regime in Iran and we just pull out, and if the Iranians agree, Israel's not going to be happy, because they know the Iranians are just going to build up, and they probably will try to get nuclear weapons now, because ironically, we killed the guy that was opposed to nuclear weapons. We murdered him, and now his son may be more receptive for nuclear weapons. And I've seen multiple reports here. And again, this wasn't just from one source, but many sources, that we're trying to get a ceasefire with Iran. U.S. is trying to contact Iran for a ceasefire, but Iran is refusing. They're ghosting us. We're calling them, but they're not calling back. We're texting them, but they're ignoring our texts. They've blocked us. And I don't blame them, because again, they were negotiating with us, and they were reviewing our proposal, and we said, okay, we'll get back next week. So meet Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff next week in Vienna, and you give us your response. And before they could respond, Israel went ahead and murdered their leaders, a sneak attack. So they're like, yeah, fuck that. Fuck that. We're not going to negotiating with you anymore. So I can't say I believe them. And we're trying to, because I think the Trump administration knows the dilemma. I mean, we could say we quit, but Iran could keep going. And so that is a problem. And another reason he wants to quit the war, Trump, obviously, I think he knows this is a mistake. He's probably real upset with Kushner and Witkoff and all these people that told him this would be easy. We'll bomb Iran. We'll kill their leaders. The Iranian government is very weak. The protesters will take to the streets. They'll overthrow them. We'll have a gay Jew running the place, friendly with Israel. They'll have OnlyFans. They'll get rid of the hijab, and they'll be showing their buttholes on OnlyFans. They'll be liberated, right? That was the idea, but that hasn't happened. And so now we didn't have like a plan B. We didn't have a contingency plan. There was like no fucking planning for this war at all. That's very clear. Now the Iranians planned for it because they could see it potentially coming. We had no plan. And it shows. Our plan was, we'll bomb, kill the people, there'll be an uprising. There we go. Trump gets another great victory like Venezuela. That was the plan. So now they're just making shit up as they go. But one of the things they want to try to do is breaking. Trump has reportedly told Israel that he wants the bombing of Iran to be over next week, prior to his meeting with Xi in China. So Trump is supposed to meet with the president of China at the end of March, and he doesn't want this war to be hanging over everything. Because again, the longer this war goes on and we don't defeat Iran, the weaker the United States looks. And the more weak we look, the more emboldened China and Russia will get to maybe supply Iran with weapons. And again, we're not friends with China. China sees how we're dishonorable and we do sneak attacks. They don't trust us. And so they're very suspicious of us. And so we're in a bad situation here. And again, we depend on China for a lot of these rare earths for our weapon systems. So Trump wants this war wrapped up by the end of the month. I'm skeptical if Iran will agree to that. We will see. Maybe they could. Maybe Trump can work with Putin and Putin can work with Iran to say, hey, you don't want the war to go on longer too. And the guarantees that America won't attack, well, it's not, America can say whatever they want. They're all liars, but it's not the political will. It's not there to attack Iran again. So you guys will be okay. So maybe that will be an out. That's one we should hope for. That's probably the best thing. But right now, we're not getting much support from the Iranians to work with us. And, it's like we kill them. We're like, oh, I'm sorry, our bad. We killed your school children, our bad. Let's get together and let's hammer out a deal. I know we screwed you on the last one. Yeah, I don't see that really happening here. All right, let's just take a look here. But the Iran's supreme leader, he just got promoted to Ayatollah now, Khomeini. So we murdered Khomeini, and the new guy is Khomeini. Says attacks on the U.S. bases in Gulf countries will continue. We only attack American bases in neighborhood countries. We recommend that neighboring countries close their American bases in their territory as soon as possible. So again, the Iranians are pretty smart strategically. They're telling like Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman that, hey, we have nothing against you guys, but we don't want you to have American bases where America attacks us. As simple as that. So the minute you guys kick the Americans out, we'll let you get your ships through the Strait of Hormuz. You can sell your oil again, and then ships coming in to give your food will allow that, and you'll be back in business. And that's a pretty smart argument they're doing. And so they're trying to create a division between us and the Gulf states, because the Gulf states are reportedly, according to Reuters, very angry with the United States, because part of the deal was that in order to prop up the petrodollar, where they demand dollars for oil, we would protect them. But we're not protecting them. We're out of interceptor missiles, and what missiles we do have go to Israel, and the Gulf states are enraged about it. Rightfully so. They got screwed. And here we go. This is according to Reuters. Gulf states may eventually engage with Iran on new regional security arrangements after the U.S.-Israeli war brought instability to region. And this is huge. So like Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, all these states can say, why are we putting up with America? Maybe we should switch sides and be with Iran. They seem to be stronger than America. Maybe we'll throw our hat in with China or Russia. So this is a problem here. We can't just walk away from these bases. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem with our petrodollar, and we won't be able to continue to spend more money than we take in. That's the only reason we've been able to since 1973, when Nixon and Kissinger, we worked out the petrodollar with OPEC. It was, okay, you sell your oil in dollars, and we'll provide defense. And we're the biggest superpower in the world, so we'll defend you. And they're like, okay. But now our end of the agreement, they held to their end of the agreement. They required sales in dollars that had a demand for our dollars around the world, and that helped keep our inflation pretty low. Even though we have a budget deficit, we were able to get away with it because of that. And so they did their part of the agreement, but now we're failing our part of defending them. Not because we don't want to, is that we can't. We don't have the missiles anymore to defend them. And we can't even open up the Strait of Hormuz. So we're supposed to have the best Navy in the world, which I think we do, but we can't even end the blockade. In fact, our Navy's too scared to try to do so. And let that sink in about what the hell's good's the Navy then. So there's a big problem right there with the Gulf states. And they've been getting the hell bombed out of them. Now, we haven't got a lot of videos. We've had some videos leak. Again, if you take a video of what's happening in these countries, you risk going to jail. And 20 people in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, have been charged with sharing videos of Iranian strikes. And a British tourist who was 60 years old, he was there on, just been on a tour, a tourist. So you go to UAE and you're like, oh, wow, fuck, look at this. All these missiles are hitting. And you pull out your smartphone and oh, this is cool. And you start recording it and you upload it on X or Facebook. Well, now that guy is facing 2 years in prison for a cyber crime offense. And Israel's doing the same thing. They're trying to censor it because it's bad for morale to show that the American air defense system is not working. And so that is what's happening there. So he faces 2 years in prison. So it's hard to get. Some stuff is leaking out, but we're not getting a lot out because people are scared to share it for obvious reasons. All right, here. Some more information about who's really controlling the war. And this is Senator Chris Murphy. He's a senator from Kentucky. He's a Democrat, obviously. But let's listen to him. Here.
Senator, on MS Now, you suggested that the only reasonable explanation is that for the war is that Israel made us do it. How would they have made us do it? Like, is that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not in those rooms.
Is it special interest? Miriam Adelson, Larry Ellison, two of the biggest donors to not only the IDF, but also to President Trump.
Well, I don't know what happened behind closed doors. I just have heard Marco Rubio and others say that they wouldn't have attacked unless Israel was already planning on attacking. But
Trump said that too. Rubio said that, and Trump have said that.
Of course, everything Israel does is made possible by U.S. support and U.S. weapons. We should have leverage over Israel. Israel should not be telling us when to wage war against Iran.
Yeah, it's really messed up. We pay for Israel. We pay for their health care. We pay for their weapons. And in return, Israel, they control our politicians like Ted Cruz, Tom Cotton, Lindsey Graham. They demand that people be censored in the United States. They're never happy. They don't really give a fuck about us. They just want to loot us for all their money. And it's outrageous that they have this much control over our government.
What kind of partnership is this? Why do we sell them the most sophisticated weapons in the world if they can dictate terms to us on when we put U.S. lives at risk in the Middle East? That doesn't make sense to me, but...
Well, it makes sense if you understand how they control things.
No other reason why we went to war makes a lot of sense either. So we're all really just trying to figure out on a day-to-day basis what the reason is that we're fighting a war that is exploding the region, getting Americans killed, and driving up prices for people here.
Thank you.
So again, he was mentioned this has to do with Israel, and it has. I think they're trying to dress it up because they know some of the Americans are starting to wise up and they're not happy about it. So they're trying to oh no, it wasn't about Israel. It's about, they had nukes, they had ballistic missiles, they're gonna attack us. They're seeing what will try to stick. Now, what's interesting is the neocons, they really pushed for the war, but because it's going badly, a lot of the neocons are kind of like rats fleeing the sinking ship, and they're trying to say that, well, I was for the war, but Trump really bungled it. I predicted this, and we're seeing one of the chief neocons, John Bolton. This guy always loves war for Israel. As he says here, I favor regime change in Iran. And I don't know. Supposedly Trump says, yeah, we want regime change now. Whoa, no, we don't. And then Trump's, I get to say who's the next leader of Iran. And then he says, oh, that's not the case. Then he says, unconditional surrender. Then, come on, Iran, will you negotiate with us? So who knows? But John Bolton favored regime change. But I'm deeply worried that inadequate preparation will prevent that goal from being achieved. There seems to be holes in the strategy. There wasn't a strategy, from the lack of coordination with the opposition to the lapse in preparing American people ahead of the attack. So the neocons who pushed Trump into this war, they are already getting ready to stab Trump in the back, which I knew they were going to do. Right. I guarantee you, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, Bolton, all these assholes, they will stab Trump in the back when it goes bad. It's going bad. And they will say, well, we supported overthrowing Iran, but Trump fucked it up. He didn't know what he was doing. So that's going to be the narrative. Our attack was good. The idea that we were attacked Iran, that was good. That was wholly unjust. But Trump just fucked it up. It's not our fault. So that's what they're going to say here. All right. And here we had Trump explaining the cause of the war. It's getting to become like a Monty Python skit, if you ever watch that. It's like satire, but it's real. Like Erica Kirk was appointed to some Air Force board. And I thought, that's not real. That's just like fake news. People are trolling. No, it's real. This is just crazy time we're having with people. And so let me just take a look here. Okay. All right, let's take a look here at Trump.
Questions, Peter?
Yes, you just said it is a little excursion and you said it is a war. So which one is it?
Yeah, because sometimes Trump calls it a war and other times he calls it an excursion. I don't know why he calls it an excursion. Isn't an excursion like you're in Hawaii and you're just going to take a quick day trip? I don't know why he calls it that.
Well, it's both. It's both.
It's both. It's both. It's a war and an excursion.
It's an excursion that will keep us out of a war.
So it's an excursion that keeps us out of a war. So we're not in a war. We're in an excursion, kind of like Gilligan's Island. Remember they had a 2-hour excursion and they got stranded on the island. It's like that. It's an excursion. It's not a war. We had to do this excursion to keep us out of the war. And this excursion, I don't know. The death toll keeps going up. Sadly, we could have lost 6 today in that aircraft, but it's an excursion.
And the war is going to be, for them it's a war. For us, it's turned out to be easier than we thought.
It's easy. It's just easier than we thought. That's his thing. It's easier than we thought. Just totally easy. But he doesn't know what to do with the Hormuz Strip. We can't get Iran to surrender. He said unconditional surrender. They haven't unconditionally surrendered. But he's just saying, it's easy. We won the war. And that's the way it is. Now, this isn't just me saying this. There's been multiple reports from U.S. intelligence that, here we go, NBC citing 2 for more sources familiar with the matter. U.S. intelligence indicates that the Iranian regime is unified and shows no signs of collapse. Well, no shit. You attack their country in a sneak attack, blow up a school. You really think that's going to make the people protest their government? They're going to get a rally around the flag effect. So, yeah, they're not going to collapse. So the whole purpose of it is crazy. Now, getting to this boots on the ground thing, there's just no way this is going to happen. I'm not going to show this clip, but we just don't have the logistics to make this happen. So it's just really crazy. So there's no way to really do a regime change. And if we don't do the regime change, how are we going to get the uranium out of enriched uranium out of Iran? We don't even know where it is. They could have it hit anywhere. Oh, bring in special forces. Well, where is it? If they're not stupid, they probably split it up, and that could be a disaster. And are we going to get a 1 million man army, a 2 million man, do a draft and try to get people over there? And so, again, if we can't change the regime by bombing, they're just going to get strong. They're going to get a nuclear weapon. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, they're going to be pissed at Trump. Israel's going to be pissed. So that is definitely what will happen there. All right, let me bring up my document. I accidentally closed my document. All right. This war has been a religious war. And ironically, it's not a religious war from Iran's side. It's more from our side, Israel and the United States. And here is Netanyahu.
And I believe we all recognize the fact that we will reach to the kingdom. We will make it to the return of the Messiah, but this will not happen next Thursday.
So he says they want to bring back the Messiah. Well, the Messiah's already come. His name was Jesus Christ, and you crucified him. And your people, the Pharisee, let his blood be upon us and our generations. You rejected God. The next Messiah that comes is not going to be the Messiah. He will be the Antichrist. So, crazy. So here's Netanyahu was saying the whole thing was to try to get the return of the Messiah, but it's not going to happen right away. It's not going to happen next Thursday, but we really want to do this. And it's just nuts how this is. And Tucker had a good explanation of this. This is opening a lot of eyes to Judaism and how they think and how they look at us. And the whole Epstein thing did too, how they call us goys and all that. So here we go. Let's take a look.
In the first hours after this, when the prime minister of Israel, in his, I think, first remarks on the new war with Iran, said 2 things. One, I've been waiting for this for 40 years. This is part of a pre-existing plan, totally disconnected from Iran's modern nuclear program, which was not in the same condition 40 years ago.
Right. So this just didn't happen. So the lies, oh, it was an imminent attack. They were about to attack us. No, Netanyahu's been pushing for an attack, meaning us, America, to attack on Iran for 47 years, 40-some years. Reagan, everyone else, all the other presidents told him, fuck off, but Trump got into this mess.
If you've been thinking about something for 40 years, you're probably not describing an imminent threat. Hard to be imminent for 40 years. This is an effort to expand the territory and the influence of Israel in the Middle East. Of course. Again, not an attack on Israel, it's just a fact.
Yeah, it's the greater Israel. They want to expand it.
That's the first thing he said, revealing his motive, just saying it out loud. One wonderful thing about Israelis is, unlike Americans, they're less circumspect. Just kind of say it.
Well, they say a lot in Hebrew, hoping that most us don't understand it, but a lot of our people do understand Hebrew. But they will say one thing to our audience, what they call the goyim, and then they say another thing to each other, and it's quite different.
And the second thing he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's about right. He said in today's Torah portion, we read about the Amalekites, about Amalek. And that would be a direct reference to 1 Samuel 15, in which God commands the Israelites to kill the Amalekites, all of them, every single one of them, to commit genocide against Amalek. The men, the women, the children, the infants, is almost verbatim quote, and the animals, the camels and the sheep, all of them, kill them all, wipe them off the face of the earth. And in fact, God punishes the Israelites for not following his instructions and sparing some. So whatever you think of that, whether it's your theology or not, your religion or not, it almost doesn't matter. In a geopolitical context, no one has talked that way in 80 years. No national leader has stood on camera and said, our goal is genocide, and not like semi-modern Nerf genocide where you kill a lot of people, make the rest of them leave, but actual genocide where you kill everybody and their children, quote, and their infants and their animals. You erase any evidence they ever existed, period. It's 1 Samuel 15, in case you're interested in reading it. And it is interesting. And it's of course part of Judaism. It's part of Christianity. It's the Old Testament. So it's not an attack on the verse, but to invoke that verse in the middle of a hot war and respond to it by saying, this is what we're doing today.
Right. So from Netanyahu's perspective, because he's a religious fanatic, he wants to bring back the Messiah, which we Christians realize will be the Antichrist, because the Messiah has come and they have rejected him. They look to Satan and the Antichrist. And Netanyahu, he said, I mean, the purpose of this is to slaughter everyone. So if a bunch of schoolgirls get killed in Iran, he doesn't care. They're not Christian. They don't follow the same rules. They don't really care. And you see what they did in Gaza, right? They just flattened women, children. They didn't care. And that's how it is.
Amalek is Iran, is to call for genocide against her opponent. In the first.
Yeah, that's what Netanyahu was calling for, no doubt. If they could, they would commit genocide against the Iranian people. I have no doubt about it, and that is what they are all about. And you can see the different morality they have than we do. The Christian morality is a story that came out, and let me just show you here. Five IDF soldiers sodomized a Palestinian man with a knife on camera. So there's no doubt about it. They tortured him, raped him with a knife. And the Israel military drops charges against the soldiers. This was a Palestinian detainee. So again, they don't have a problem with that. The war crimes, they don't care. Killing women and children, they don't care. They consider the people different. They're like cattle, at least Netanyahu, his government. And these are the people that the Christian Zionists worship, which I don't understand. I don't understand how you Christian Zionists can worship people that reject Jesus Christ, that want to make it illegal to pray to Jesus Christ at the Western Wall, that have this whole attitude. It's a rejection of the New Testament. It's just bizarre. I don't consider these people Christians. So it's basically a fundamentally religious war. And people are upset about it. The MAGA movement is really split now. A lot of people left MAGA because of that. And here's some numbers with this. A common sentiment across candid interviews with 55 young American men between the ages of 18 and 29, all races and political backgrounds, some Trump voters, some not. Young people aren't processing Iran as a foreign policy. They're experiencing one reality: a government that has billions for bombs and nothing for their rent. Every dollar spent on the war registers as a dollar not spent on them. Trump, no new wars promise, was the clearest, most testable commitment he made to young voters. its violation is now the anchor story for broader trust collapse. Right. Trump promised we aren't going to get in more wars. We're not going to get in a war with Iran. We're going to put America first. We're going to provide you with opportunities and jobs. Now he's like, fuck that. Israel has other ideas. I'm a slave to Israel. So it's hard for me. I can't support that anymore when that's his position. And that's where we are right now. So, okay. So anyway, guys, I've been doing these updates. It's good to get with you guys every evening here. And I do appreciate it. And I think I'll been here an hour. So I'll end up a little early tonight, but thank you guys for being here. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.